Welcome, everybody, to the Genesis Mindset. The Atropa Ecosystem. Do you want to buy highs or do you want to buy lows? So, the Atropa Ecosystem has been extremely quiet lately, and this is really how I like it as a buyer. So, to be honest, one of the most difficult things in cryptocurrency is chasing tops. It's something that we always do. We chase the hype, we chase the tops, and more often than not, if you're a little player like I am, you're not the one that's making the profit. The people that are making the profits are the big whales who already created those positions before you did. And then you get sucked into buying their bags and you become their exit liquidity. And you think that you're missing out. You're chasing a FOMO. You have a fear of missing out. You're trying to chase a gain, watching a price chart that's just gone up like this, thinking that you're going to get those gains as well. But it's already too late. You're becoming the exit liquidity. So there's a lot of new tokens now which are being shilled, which are looking very toppy. Does this mean that they're going to stop? No, they could keep going. But do you want to buy those things that are on the way up, or do you want to buy the things that are on the way down? So me personally, I like buying things that are on the way down, or I like to at least try it and instill that habit. So I also continue to love the Atropa ecosystem because I'm investing in this technology. It's a new technology and I'm buying into it while it's low. I want to learn about it while it's low. So today is more of a TA session, looking at some of the Atropa ecosystem charts, as well as looking at what's happening within the Treasury. So there's been a lot of things that have been happening in the Treasury. So, all right, let's get into the chart. So first of all, yeah, let's start with the macro. So it's been a very long time since I've taken a look even at the macro of PulseChain, and PulseChain itself is looking pretty. Yeah, I mean, look, it's not it's not amazing, but it's looking a little bit healthier than. I mean, look, we're on like as low as it can be, but now these lows are PulseChain holders, absolute jeets. So we're now breaking through this level. So yeah, that's a pity. It was looking good just before. Maybe yesterday when I looked at it, I was like, oh, cool, it's going to retest the lows. Maybe it's going to bounce off and go up more, but it fell through. It fell through. So looking at those levels of support, it's kind of fallen through. Let me just double check this here. I need to. Oh, goodness me. How generous can we be here? I mean, it's pretty much falling through the support quite heavily. This is a 3-day candle, so it's falling through quite strongly. PulseChain. Yeah, that's quite pitiful, really. It is really moving down it quite strong. So, gee whiz, there you go. So that's PulseChain. So let's see what happens. Let's see if it comes down to let's at least see if this is a saving grace, this particular trend line. So trend lines are a bit of muchness because you can keep redrawing and readjusting trend lines to fit different positions on the chart. But yeah, if it's falling through this resistance level. So let's see if at least this trend line becomes a support. So yeah, that's quite pitiful. So yeah, this is the thing. People in PulseChain are starving. So anyone is really trying to look for anywhere to take profits. So that's the game that we're in. And it has had 100x off the bottom. So 100% off the bottom. So this is also potentially why. So now let's have a look at Atropa to PulseChain. So obviously we have this massive anomaly condition here where we had the extractor. You know, I'm still blown away by the fact that the same types of people who were like, oh, there's an extractor, you got to listen to Richard Hart, and they followed Richard Hart, and then so did Maria, but then they made Maria into some kind of a criminal, a rug puller. But Maria literally just tried to protect his or Hamad tried to protect his. Well, actually, at the time it was Maria. Now he's transformed into Hamad, but I still do not blame him for selling and protecting his ecosystem. So it even looks like the Atropa ecosystem is creating some kind of this is becoming a resistance, this trend line now. So now it's selling back down. So this is against the US dollar. But yeah, there was obviously that massive anomaly event. Boy, I mean, if you're a believer, these buys, oh, we got our blue. This, I mustn't have looked at this chart for a long time because I've been using black for quite some time. And I have to say, dark mode crew, I have more or less been converted actually. So um oh, I'm getting a lot of lag. I've more or less been converted because, I mean, even though I love the clarity of this. Look at this, it's beautiful, but you can definitely feel it on your eyes. So yeah, to the pulse chain, it's really the chart is almost identical. So I'm going to go back to dark mode on this particular one. So yeah, the trend line is forming a resistance, and obviously everything that happened, everything that transpired with the extraction, Maria bridged out some assets, but he also said that he would buy Atropa back, even if he would buy it at higher prices. So that's something that I've certainly kept in mind. He's pretty much taken that liquidity off the chain to protect it. Now the extractor issue has been resolved because Maker has been nuked. It's no longer an issue anymore. And thank God that it has, because $27 million had been extracted. This is something that I didn't know, but at the 3 cent mark, that's where the majority of it was extracted, but about 27 million was extracted from PDAI. So that's a lot of liquidity, man. That is a hell of a lot of liquidity. So it got nuked, and then it got nuked for 500K. So yeah, it was a really dark moment in PulseChain's history. And so now that saga is over. So now, oh boy, look at these candles. That saga is now over. So now we're into the next epoch of the Atropa ecosystem. So we really have to see what's happening now. We're basically obviously not at square one, but we're in positions now where you can build liquidity positions. You can build out your positions. You can build out your own little web to leverage off this. You could build out your Lao tokens. I have heard that the Lao tokens are not working at the moment. I have to confirm that. So Dysnomia, the LAU tokens, I'm quite surprised by that. I'm gonna have to do an update on that as well and just check in on that to see where that is going. But yes, this is really a good time to be building out. So the Mintable tokens, the Treasury is definitely getting all of the attention. So we will go into the Treasury in just a moment, because I have seen some things there that has been probably a little bit concerning from the perspective of what people have actually been doing with the Treasury, but I'll go into that just in a moment. So even with PDAI, I'm still a believer in some way, shape, or form. So I have seen, for example, there's a Maker fork that is being created. So I am going to do an episode on that, but that is something that's been created. It uses PAI. So it doesn't use PDAI, it uses PAI. But in it, I know that the dev has... So with Maker, what ended up nuking it, the ESM, was a spell cast by surfacing and the XUSD dev. So he cast the spell, he took control, and he nuked it. And he nuked it to a point where it released all the liquidities, unlocked a lot of liquidity pools, and it was able to drain everything out of the system. And then that was put back into the Atropa ecosystem. So they also kept quite a lot of that themselves, and thinking of using it for validator nodes with the remaining pulse chain. So they're putting it to good use. They're not off buying Lamborghinis and mansions. And of course, I must disclose that I'm in the XUSD team, and surfacing is an XUSD dev. So people say I have a conflict of interest, but they're not taking into account that I have a lot more PDAI than XUSD. So if we want to talk about conflict of interest, then you have to take into account that my primary conflict of interest is in seeing PDAI go to $1. So yeah, I want to just make that comment once and for all, because it's kind of, it's people are really attacking my integrity, and it's a little draining. But yeah, I think the best thing to do is just avoid the die chat. It's really there's a lot of garbage in there, to be honest. But some of these ratios that occurred, I mean, if you were able to swap your Atropa into your die here and you swapped it back here, you've made a 4x, for example. If you believe that Maria is still going to be working towards P stables, then his ratio for PDAI to Atropa was 750. So 750 is that's a 5x from here. So there's a lot of good. There's a lot of potentials here. That's all I'm saying. So if you still believe, there's a lot of potentials. There's a lot of deals. There's a lot of ratios. And yes, USD value is not going up, but your token count can go up. You can build out positions, build out liquidity web. So when the USD value does start to go up, you've really strengthened your position. And I think that's something that I'm trying to focus a lot on. So the Atropa to down. So this is. Yeah, this was something that I was continuously watching, that when the chart was going down like this, it was in favor of Atropa. So let's take this to the USD value. So unfortunately, I mean, this is where I guess there's multiple ways that the TA can be done. You can use different kinds of. I mean, I was just looking at the trends. Those are the things that have been the most dominant for me, is the trends. So the trend lines were holding all the way along, and it was pretty much all you really needed. So obviously here, this is a really important level as well. So if we take a look at this, this was the first all-time high for the Atropa ecosystem, and it formed. So it became resistance. It became resistance again. So it had a pullback, and then it pushed through and became support. And then again, you could say it kind of slightly tried to go back towards that. And again, it did the same here. So it gravitated around this. So now we're going to see this potentially, because everything is just potentials with TA. This potentially could be a local low for the Atropa ecosystem, potentially. So this is a level that I would be keeping my eye on as a buyer of Atropa, because it certainly gravitates towards this. But yeah, it really depends on the macro market as well, which things are obviously starting to turn around. So Bitcoin hit 95K. So when the macro market is uptrending, then obviously some of that liquidity is going to float into PulseChain, which is going to float into the Atropa ecosystem. But again, remembering that, and I'm not basing my investment thesis on this, but remembering, of course, that Maria is kind of on the sidelines building at the moment, bridged out a lot of liquidity, hasn't bridged it back in, but did state that he was going to bridge it back in and buy Atropa at a higher price. He was also one of the biggest buyers of PDAI during that massive dump. So he ended up accumulating, I think, another 3 billion PDAI tokens. So yeah, then he made Treasury with all the P stables. He made a whole bunch of new liquidity pools with the P stables and Treasury. So I think he's still cooking at the moment. The word on the street is he's really focusing on PUSDT and Treasury. And he's doesn't sound like he's too impressed with what's going on with PDAI in terms of the community and the community's response to his actions. So yeah, those are the kinds of levels that I would be looking at. And one of the things, obviously, that, let me just go to the weekly on this, because I want to see if this still holds, because it was very clear, and my computer, as always, going nice and slow. Cheerio, nice and slow. So as Atropa was going down, it was going in favor of Atropa. So yeah, it's basically just expressing the volatility of that. So yeah, this was one of my theses for. It's kind of broken a little now, because basically, yeah, when this was going down, so where were those levels? I was using this as a bottom indicator, but now it's kind of been broken a little bit because of everything that happened with PDAI has basically turned the whole ecosystem upside down. This has been like the biggest shock to the whole Atropa ecosystem since the beginning, since its creation, I would say. So, I mean, look at this volatility. Look at this price action. It's absolutely insane. So there was a lot of swapping going on here. Green candles, red candles. So if we have a look at here, 24th of June. Where's our 24th of June over here? So yeah, June, July, 24th of June. Basically, when the Atropa ecosystem was trending up, this was trending down. And if it was going down, we had some sideways action as well. We saw this for a while, but then it really started to the whole ratio really started to go down. So that as an indicator now has really been turned upside down, which is, it is what it is. But yeah, we just got to kind of adapt to the circumstances. So yeah, it's really been turned upside down, the whole situation. So Teddy Bear, obviously Teddy Bear now is probably one of the biggest talking points. I still don't quite understand the FUD around Teddy Bear. Unless I've missed something. I don't know if I've missed something, but from what I saw, and correct me if I'm wrong, from what I saw with Teddy Bear, Maria dumped Treasury bill into Teddy Bear. Isn't that bullish for Teddy Bear? What did I get wrong? Teddy Bear got nuked because the Atropa ecosystem got nuked because of the liquidity bonding. But from what I saw, and I could be wrong, please correct me in the comments, but from what I saw, Teddy Bear, the original one and only bear, Maria pumped it with Treasury bill. So yeah, I couldn't really see what the issue was. I didn't see him sell any Teddy Bear, even though there was all this FUD around him selling Teddy Bear. And because he nuked Teddy Bear, now people have gone off and made another one. And best of luck to them. But this is the one and only Teddy Bear. It has the whole backing of the Atropa ecosystem behind it. Not only is it the liquidity web, not only is it the ratios, not only is it the control of a benevolent dev, there's a lot of other mechanisms within the Atropa ecosystem. Burning, minting tokens, all the different moving parts of a financial ecosystem. This is something that's unique to the Atropa ecosystem. So Teddy Bear, just like the rest of the Atropa ecosystem, it's suffering at the moment, but I still believe that it can be a top 10 meme coin on PulseChain. It has lost a lot of big holders, but hey, that's the game. That means that you can become a big holder now if you really do believe in teddy bears. And if you really do love the teddy bear meme, which I personally do. So these are the exact times that you should be buying. So now the other ecosystem, the charts are looking more like this. They're looking more like this, where everything is already looking toppy. I'm not saying that they're not going to keep pumping, and I hope that they do for the holders. But what I'm saying is they're not the type of charts that I want to be buying. I want to be buying these types of charts where there's been a massive I mean, you would have been praying. I mean, when it was up here, you would have been praying for a 90% correction, and then you get it, and now everybody goes quiet. Nobody's talking about the Atropa ecosystem. I did a tweet, and there was somebody who said, "You're the only one that's beating the drum," and I'm like, "Wow, that's really telling. Like, it's gone really, really quiet." And I won't stop beating the drum, just for the record. I'll always be here beating the drum for the Atropa ecosystem, because there's more to this than meets the eye. There's much more to this than meets the eye. I think it's very underlooked, and it's a real pity. I think people are just desperate for anything to move and make gains, and a lot of people just want easy gains. And there was certainly easy gains with some of these trends here, but you do have to do your research with the Atropa ecosystem. That's the thing. You do have to do your research. So for me, wow, what a deal. Teddy Bear dipped. I mean, holy shit. It's now like minus 90%. This is against PulseChain, by the way, 92%. Some of these levels, bro, some of these levels are like, I mean, this is, gee whiz, it didn't drop below this. It had its, well, it didn't really break it broke its all-time in the last wave, but then it pushed below. It pushed way below. So now it's kind of hovering on a key level, and you can really see the way that it gravitates to this level. So I tell you what, if you were a liquidity provider in this as well, that's the thing. That's the thing about the Atropa ecosystem that I'm always trying to encourage people, or that I'm at least trying to encourage for myself as well, as to think long term. So if I believe that this is a financial ecosystem, then it's not something that's just going to be a one cycle pump and dump. It's going to be something that's going to need to sustain itself over long periods of time, which means it's going to need to sustain itself over many, many cycles. until really PulseChain dies and disappears. So if the teddy bear backs the Treasury, teddy bear, one of my boys has got a liquidity providing position on teddy bear and PulseChain, Muddy, and he's cleaning up. He's absolutely cleaning up. Look at this volume that's happening here. This volume on teddy bear and PulseChain. These are the things where the long-term plays on teddy bear, things like teddy bear as a liquidity provider is just phenomenal. It's really, really just phenomenal. So as a matter of fact, what is the liquidity in this V2? I think this is a V2 pool. I'm going to have to double check. So I'll check when it opens up. But as a liquidity provider, it's not just about the old crypto mindset of, okay, I'm going to buy this token and I'm going to sell it all at the end of the bull market. That's fine. I'm certainly going to be doing that with portions of my portfolio, but I'm also looking beyond this. So when that time comes, I want to be in a liquidity providing position that I can actually take advantage of the people who do that by being a liquidity pool that they're going to be dumping into, because I believe that in the same way that the charts are trending up like this, it's going to continue across cycles. If the Atropa ecosystem is to truly succeed, that's what it's going to need to do. So I want to be in liquidity position. So 63K liquidity. That's not a lot of liquidity. So this is V2, Teddy Bear, PulseChain, 46K volume. That's exceptional volume for the amount of liquidity. Exceptional. So yeah, Teddy Bear, PulseChain is an exceptional liquidity pool, getting huge amounts of yield. So I think, for example, my boy Muddy, I think he said something like plus 40% in just the last week. So plus 40%. So that's almost half of his bag as a liquidity provider. So this is where, if you start to learn about the Atropa ecosystem, if you start to learn about where the liquidity is going to flow and where you can position yourself, and now while the liquidity is so low, while everybody's lost faith in the Atropa ecosystem, now is really the time. If you're a believer. If you're not a believer, well, that's okay. But for me, I'm always going to be a believer until something comes along to completely change my mind. And so far, I don't have any proof that this is not going to work. I keep seeing the pieces of the puzzle continuing to be put together, and I'm seeing the vision of the future, and I'm holding true and believing in that vision of the future. So yeah, Teddy Bear, what an exceptional buy. But this is across the board with the Atropa ecosystem, across the board. One of my boys, Sleepy J, he's also making a whole bunch of new tax tokens. So tax tokens generate yield, and if they're bonded correctly, again, the tax tokens themselves, it's not just about buying a tax token and, oh, well, I should have just bought the original instead of the tax token. Why not just buy what it's rewarding in? Yeah, you can do that as well, but the tax token is just forever yield as well. So there's going to be a point where the tax token, the value of the tax token is probably going to be, as a printer, greater than holding the actual asset. And so he's actually creating a whole web now while everything is so extremely low, and he's trying to interconnect everything while everything is so extremely low, so he can create like an ETF of everything that's on PulseChain, similar to A1A, similar to PulsePop. So this is something that I'm particularly very excited about, something that I've been bonding a lot with Coexist token, and I still do need to get around to burning that. But yeah, I keep saying I'm going to burn it, but yeah, there's a lot going on, man. I mean, look at BFF, that the low 8K was our target. Just everything got completely wrecked within the Atropa ecosystem. So G baby, that the GWAT, everything's trending down. So yeah, is it the bottom? This is what I hate about calling bottoms. Calling bottoms is so hard for a start. It's really, really hard. But this is the thing that I really hate about calling bottoms, because you're like, oh, well, this is a bottom, and then it keeps dropping, and you're like, oh, well, you said it was the bottom, and then it drops 50%. Well, this is the thing, though. Most people buy tops anyway. So yeah, it might not be the exact bottom, but if it's not the bottom and it drops more, then I'll just buy some more. But if it's the top and then it's going down and down and down, and I'm trying to chase these green candles, the likelihood of me actually, the time frame of me getting into profit by buying tops is so much more expanded than it is by buying bottoms, and it just dips a little bit lower. It dips a little bit lower. It's so much more. I mean, look, let's just have a look at an example of that. So let's go to the Atropa ecosystem chart, for example. So if I bought if I started buying tops here, let's say here I'm chasing this, right? I'm gonna chase this. So let me just start drawing some lines here. So I buy this candle here because I'm chasing the green, I'm chasing the hype. Okay, you have these are weekly candles, so you have 1, 2, 3, 4 more weeks of green, where probably, let's be perfectly honest, you probably didn't sell because it probably didn't give you the type of gains that you were expecting, because you're looking at this. This is the thing, your mind is biased. Your mind is thinking linear. This is the problem with the human mind. It thinks linearly. So it's looking at this going, oh, wow, it just did a 12x from the bottom, a 13x. I'm going to sell when it does another 13x. And then it does a 50%, and then it ends up dropping. So now it's dropping. And then so for 4 weeks, for pretty much 1 week, you're in profit. Well, actually, no. Well, yeah, then 3 following weeks, you're in profit for a little bit. Then you're really mostly down. You're waiting for it to go up. And then you're back in the green here. So this is now March, April, May, June, July, August, September, October, November. That's 9 months that you're in the red because you were buying tops. Whereas if you're buying bottoms, yeah, okay, maybe you didn't get the perfect bottom. Maybe you started buying here because you listened to XUSD Steve and say, oh, this is the bottom. And you're like, yeah, I'm going to start buying. And then it kept going down. And you're like, God damn you, XUSD Steve, and you big, gigantic noob. It's dropped another 80%. What the hell did you do to me? I'm wrecked and it's all your fault. And it dropped 50%. But 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, whatever, 9 weeks. So pretty much for a month, July, June, July, August, September. So yeah, 2 months. 2 months you're in the red. 2 months you're in the red if you bought here. And if it's going down and you have a buyer's mindset, you're probably buying more. So then you're averaging down. And then you start being in profit way more. For that, your period of time then is 2 months for when you're in profit, as opposed to 9 months. So we constantly get caught in chasing the greens, chasing the hype, because they're the ones that the big influencers are screaming about the most. But the big influencers are screaming about it the most because that makes it keep going up. But it's going up at your expense. That's the thing. So it's just always best practice to buy reds. Buy when there's blood in the street. Warren Buffett. It's an eternal principle. But Somi showed a chart, showed something the other day of Isaac Newton. So Isaac Newton is pretty much one of the greatest scientists who ever lived. Like, he not only did he discover gravity, he discovered the light spectrum. He discovered like all these. He discovered like just a whole bunch of things that pretty much like in such a short period of time. So Einstein's whole life was theory of relativity. He did a lot of other things. I don't want to reduce Einstein's life to the theory of relativity, but that was something that was like a pinnacle moment in his life, the theory of relativity, and it was one of his greatest scientific achievements. Newton accomplished like several scientific achievements within such a short period of time. But there was a chart that he bought some some shipping company, and then he sold a top, and then it dipped, and then his mate bought some, and it kept going up, and then he ended up buying some because his mate was in the profits. He bought some, and then it topped, and then he sold at a loss, and he made no money in the end. So even the smartest people on the planet, if they invest with their emotions, FOMO, they're going to lose. They're going to lose. Even this, if we really be honest with ourselves, honestly speaking, I haven't even calculated my portfolio to know whether I'm in profit from starting at the beginning of PulseChain, because everything is so wrecked, and I didn't take any profits at the last top. I deliberately didn't take any profits at the last top. I didn't think it was going to drop this much, but I deliberately didn't take any profits at the last top, despite calling it. I had no confidence for one, but also, I mean, really, that was probably the main thing. I had no confidence. So there was probably greed that came into it as well. But there was, yeah. So, if you become honest with yourself, like, making profits is hard, man. It's really, really, really hard. It's not that easy. It looks easy, but it's really not. but you're really diminishing your potential for making profit when you're buying greens. You're really, really diminishing it. It seems like, oh, it's going to keep running, but by the time you make the decision to click the buy, you're in the dying stages of that move. So more often than not, not all the time, but more often than not. So yeah, so those are the main ones. Obviously, all the ratios have been thrown out of whack. I mean, BFF at the low, can you believe that? 1.5K. Hex, HotX, let's have a look at this ratio. I mean, this has just been a complete poop storm as well. And I kind of get the feeling that this is one of possibly one of Maria's little Venus fly traps that sucks liquidity into the system. And if that's the case, I just look at that and go, okay, no worries. Because, okay, I might have lost money in HotX and somehow Maria's manipulated the liquidity and the ratios that my investment into this is now going into the rest of the Atropa ecosystem, but I might be up on my bear and I might be up on my Atropa or whatever else that I have, G-Baby that the Guat. My HotX is down and it's going to keep going down because that's the way that the liquidity was designed. That's the way that Maria still has too many tokens. That was always the intention for that. But I'm not going to sit here and go, oh, Maria stole that money from me. It was part of the game and I didn't understand the ratios and the proportions. That was my fault. There was nobody else to blame but me. So I was talking very heavily about HotX and swapping HotX and Hex. And I would have been buying it like here. I'm only down like 3x on that, but I've lost a lot of EHEX to this ratio. I've lost a lot of EHEX to this ratio, and it sucks. It really sucks. But hopefully, when the rest of the Atropa ecosystem starts to go up, maybe that would change. So, but that was my fault. That was the way that I perceived it. So I think that kind of tells the story for most of the Atropa ecosystem. Yeah, Treasury bills. So now let's go into the Treasury. So now I want to just go into the Treasury again because it seems, and I'm now just parroting the things that I've heard. I cannot learn fast enough. I'm pretty much the only one that's trying to learn these things and convey these things. There doesn't really seem to be anybody else. There seems to be like super experts, for example, with the Treasury, and they are like, and even within the Atropa ecosystem, there's like these super core of experts that they just know all about all this stuff. And I'm always trying to learn from those guys. And then there's everybody else, and I'm just with everybody else trying to learn and convey. So I quite often just parrot what people are telling me because it's so difficult to keep up with everything, all the different moving parts. What's going on with the Treasury? What's going on with the Atropa ecosystem? What's Maria doing? Trying to read chat logs, trying to decipher his all these Scientology ones now. There was this in bears we don't trust, and so a few of us took it to be like he's talking about this secondary teddy, that this other teddy is now, this is a CTO. It's not a CTO. A community takeover is that. It is that. A community takeover is when you take over an existing token. So a community takeover for this would be if the dev just completely left and rugged it, and then the community goes, all right, we're going to take this over now. That's a community takeover. Creating a new token, leveraging off the marketing of the old one is not a community takeover. That's digital gentrification. So you pretty much just pushed everybody aside. So you've done this. The hypocrisy around that, it didn't click for me, the hypocrisy. But all those people complained that, oh, Maria rugged. Maria did not rug. Maria did not rug Teddy Bear. The Atropa ecosystem got sold down. Maria did not rug Teddy Bear. They've cried about being rugged on when they weren't rugged, and then they've created another token and continuously use that as a marketing point against the old one to try and continue to steal liquidity from that one when there's still the old teddy bear over here saying, hang on a minute, we're still here. And not only did you get hurt, now you're trying to hurt us even more. Doesn't that seem extremely hypocritical? It seems extremely hypocritical to me. So it doesn't seem right even in the slightest. So yeah, with the Treasury, it's the same thing. I'm trying to learn, but there's so many moving parts, man. All these minting tokens and what mints this, and parents and child, and then trying to keep up with everything on X and Twitter. There's some of these boys, they're not out there doing like sharing of content, or I don't want to say influencer, but I'm probably like the only one that's doing it. And there's a lot of time that goes into that. So maybe if I spent less time trying to share these things and just kind of learning it and keeping it to myself, maybe I'd have more insight, but probably maybe not. I don't really know, but yeah, I'm doing my best. So I'm just parroting now what I have been hearing whispers of. So take all of this with a grain of salt, but basically with this Treasury spine, Treasury and Fed is the one thing that we should be focusing on the most. So if you're a newbie into this, I'm seeing people go down into this and like start talking about campaign or bar. Like, man, like, I don't know what you guys are doing buying these tokens like that. The whole thing that I was talking about is the concept behind this is one-to-one burn to mint. But people now are going into these tokens and looking at them against the USD value or against the PulseChain value, and then buying them with PulseChain, and they're mintable tokens, guys. So people are getting flogged. They're getting flogged. Like I saw people that they're down like hundreds. They're just down. They put like thousands and thousands into bar, and now they're down to like hundreds. And I'm like, boys, what are you doing? What are you doing? That was not what I was saying that you should be doing. And either way, like, not financial advice. I'm only just sharing with you my perspective here, but that's certainly the last thing that I would be doing with any of this. The only thing that you should be doing with this is burning and minting when there's an arbitrage opportunity, or selling for an arbitrage opportunity down the spine. That's what I would be doing. I wouldn't be doing like buying any of these tokens with fresh liquidity. Like, yeah, I mean, I don't want to like fight anything, but I'm seeing things on Twitter pop up like, oh, this is like, I'm just seeing concerning things about tokens, like random tokens in the spine that are being completely shilled all over Twitter, and it's worrisome to me. It's worrisome because why that one? What's people's thesis behind that? Why did they do that? I'm not talking about this as like something that's going up in USD value. I'm not really, I mean, of course we're interested in that, but that's not why I'm talking about this. I'm talking about this as a recursive arbitrage spine loop thing that I'm still trying to define. So Bud and I are going to have a talk about this. I just wanted to do like a TA episode today. So yeah, at the minute, what I'm hearing, Treasury and Fed is the thing to focus on. So Fed can only get minted against Treasury. So Fed has a different minter to the rest of these minters. So I think there's 3 or 4 minting contracts that have launched different tokens from them. So Fed is one of them. So Fed's supply, in a way, it is infinitely mintable, but also at the same time, it's only mintable up to the point of however much supply Treasury bill has. So Treasury bill has what, like 500 billion supply or something like this. I think Maria owns still like 400 and something billion tokens. So Fed probably won't have more. Well, if it's got a certain amount of tokens now, then it could probably end up having more tokens than Treasury, but it probably wouldn't, because it's probably always gonna gravitate towards this. But the way that this is, this ratio has just beautifully played out. So Maria destroyed this. I think this was Maria wrecked the Fed, and then I think people also got hurt in this. Maybe they were buying these things and not really paying too much attention. But now look at this. I mean, look at the liquidity in this again. So 133 liquidity, 28K volume. So Fed, Treasury still looking very, very good. Swapping one Fed into one Treasury. I mean, that's a 20x to parity. And again, it's a thesis. It's not a certainty. Okay. So Treasury bill, Maria's target is $1. That's Maria's stated target. It doesn't mean that all of these are going to be $1 as well. This has been the misconception. I'm saying the fair value is $1. Fair value is 1-to-1 because one Treasury burns to mint one Fed. One Fed burns to mint one FDIC. But you can see FDIC. This was up here before now. I mean, look, like it was up here at some point. So I was trying to measure this. There was a top. Now it just keeps going up and up and up. And now it's come back down and down and down. So this, like, it's insane. It's insane. So this just keeps going, but now it looks like it has started to reverse. I thought this was going to be a top. Now it looks like it hasn't, but there's boys now who are like really minting this into oblivion. So there's people that, not into oblivion, but there's people that really know how all of this works. I'm not one of those people. So there's people that really understand the contracts and they're really minting this heavily. And again, people were shilling FDIC like, oh, it's going to be 1 to 1 to 1. It was just a thesis. It's just in fair value because one burns one. But now, obviously, it's 173,000 to 1. So in other words, one Fed is going to buy you 173,000, or sorry, not there. One Fed is going to buy you 149,000 FDIC. So then it kind of blows this concept of, well, now that there's hundreds of billions of these tokens, even trillions of these tokens, well, the 1 to 1 to 1 theory looks very, very unlikely. I don't know. I'm not writing it out of the equation, but yeah, it definitely doesn't look very, very likely. So from that sense, the focus is really on Treasury and Fed for me at the moment. Treasury and Fed, just trying to trade this ratio. Maybe that's something to keep an eye on. But these, I wouldn't be buying this with fresh capital, especially when there's so much minting that's going on. There's so much minting that's going on, and it's really diluting people's liquidity, and it's really sad to see. So really be careful about this. So again, FDIC is going to burn one FDIC, will mint one DFM. So that's the way that I would encourage people to look at this system, not looking at it as like, oh, what's cheap here, and I'm going to buy this, and I'm going to hope that it's going to pump. I would not be looking at it like this, because literally, I mean, let's just have a look at the last few days. So look at this. So if you went and came and bought Job, if you came and bought, no, sorry. So yeah, this is Job and Tellers. So if you came and bought Job and you're like, oh, great, I've bought Job. It was cheap against Pulse. But then all through since the midway of April, it's been in a minting range. Sorry, so this is Job to Tellers. So then all through this, hang on a second, I have to know in the spine, I think, yeah. Okay, so Job. Okay, yeah, Job is below. So Job is the child to Tellers. So then if you came along and you bought Job, but here it's mintable, in other words, you have Tellers and you burn the Tellers and you mint the Job, then you sell the Job down back into Tellers, then you're just continuously dumping that chart against the USD value. So maybe I'll even have a look at an example like this. I know, for example, okay, let's look at bar, because bar ratio to this clock. But let's have a look at cheat at the bar. I'm just going to bring up this example here so it can be more clearly illustrated. I wonder if there even is a PulseChain. Okay, there is. And then, of course, going to the block explorer, seeing the supply, monitoring the supply, but really everything's going to keep getting minted out. That's going to happen. Like I don't exactly know how this whole thing is going to work. I really don't know exactly how it's all going to work, but I just know that this is a treasury that Hamad is building out. So I'm just looking at it. I'm observing it. I'm trying to learn about it. I'm not buying all these tokens because I'm thinking that they're all going to go to $1. That is even the tax tokens that are associated with them that Stu made. People are going crazy on those tax tokens. I saw some say on Twitter that he spent 10K on it, and that's going to be $1 million soon. I'm like, bro, what the? Like, I mean, these man, but boy, like, understand what first before dumping that kind of money, guys. I mean, yeah, let's have a look at this. I mean, you can't even see how bad this is almost. What date is this? So this is February. Yeah, this is part of the problem here. So let's have a look here. Actually, yeah, so this is bar. Maybe I need a better example than bar. But so this is bar on the daily. So since the, so against this, it's like, oh, yeah, but bar's been pumping. It's been pumping. But against the loss, like, oh boy, I mean, it's when you can't even see the numbers, it's usually a bad sign when it doesn't even show you the percentages. And again, this really goes back to the mindset. This really goes back to the mindset of, I mean, look at this. Yeah, look at this. Already here, it's gone into 90%. So people would have gotten so wrecked on this. Look at this, 99. Please be careful, guys. Really understand it first. Don't just because somebody on YouTube is talking about it, don't just go and throw money at it because it's being talked about and you think that it's going to pump because it's being talked about. Have to really switch that mindset with the Atropa ecosystem. Mindset is everything in this game. Emotions, controlling emotions is everything. It really, really is. I'm just continuously taught that lesson again and again and again and again. So I heard people saying that they were buying bar and they threw money in it and it just got wrecked. So it got wrecked because people were probably minting the shit out of it. So please just really be mindful. Really be mindful of what you're doing. At least look a little bit first. Just do the very basics. Just do the very basics. What's the supply? How many holders are there? Can it be minted? And even this, like, oh, I didn't know it could be minted. Well, if you didn't know that it could be minted, there's things that can be like overseen because it's not an obvious thing. I mean, like, it would be cool if you could just look here and be like, okay, this contract can be minted and I'm looking on Deck Screener. Instead, you have to rely on people like myself to convey that information. So, which is not going to be easy because you can't just go cheat on the bar exam, do a YouTube search. There's not going to be any videos on it. There's not going to be any videos if you do that. You might find a video on mine, but I doubt you'd even find it. But I have spoken about it. I've done several videos on not cheat on the bar exam. So it is hard from that perspective. But yeah, like I'm happy to answer questions. I'm like, people in the telegrams are happy to answer questions as well. So let's really work together to strengthen our understanding of what's going on here. Because remember, when he was Maria in Zurich and in Amsterdam, he spoke about, and in the chat logs, in the old IRC chat logs, he spoke about wanting to keep the Atropa ecosystem at an elite level. This means FOMO, greed, get out. It doesn't belong in this ecosystem. That's what he's trying to do. He's trying to get that energy out of this ecosystem because that is the ruination of the financial system. So he's trying to get it out. That's also for your protection too. So really learning about it is very, very important. So yeah, those are the things that I just wanted to cover for today. And then just one more little bit. This friend cabal, friendcabal.com. So this is in beta mode. It's pretty good. Matter of fact, I just want to. It's kind of like a replacement for DBank. It's pretty good. It's actually really, 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 really good. I'm not saying I've got my wallet connected to it. I don't know. You do your research, whether you want to connect to it. This is made by Giga. I was really quite shocked. I've always found Giga to be like quite arrogant, to be perfectly honest. But he does seem like a nice enough guy. Like, he seems like he's trying to do the right thing, but also like, yeah, some things that I find questionable. So yeah, let me just get this website here. If I just paste this into here, but he made this, and I was like, wow, this is like it's pretty damn good. He's done an awesome job. Like, I mean, he's a very intelligent guy, a very, very intelligent guy, but really got an eye for design. Yeah, if you guys don't have, like, if you're missing DBank, maybe consider using this as something to just start looking into. But it's in beta mode or beta mode, however you say that, beta. Sorry, yeah. So it's still like in the works. So it doesn't have like at the moment. It seems like it's loading, but you can see all your transaction history here. So it's cool. It doesn't have liquidity yet. He's still doing that. So yeah, I came across this and I thought, wow, this is actually really cool. So I thought I'd just quickly share that with everyone today, because I know people have been missing DBank. So, all right, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go through some of these comments now. So, look, I appreciate all the hellos, but when I listen back to my streams, I get bored of myself saying hello back. So, everybody, thank you so much for saying hello. Good morning to you all. I love you all. I really appreciate all of your support. And yeah, please continue to say hello, because it does actually give me energy when I'm seeing the comments. When I'm not seeing comments or like there's low view numbers, it's kind of like, it demotivates me. But when I do see them, I do really appreciate it. So I hope all is well with you too, my boy. All right, never stopped believing. The believers now have the best entry price. This is not a coincidence. T-Bear. Exactly. This is exactly the kind of time where you want to be buying as a buyer. This is exactly the kind of time when I'm getting comments where you're the only one that's talking about the Atropa ecosystem. You're the only one that's beating the drum for the Atropa ecosystem. Nobody else is making any videos about it. I mean, it was pretty much always this way. And I just think, man, like, I mean, that chart, I mean, it looks bad, right? But at the same time, you know, if you put it on log, it tells a different story. So you can put it on cope log, and it's like, oh, cool. It's not so bad. What's going on here? So even on log, why is it? Where? Oh, there we go. Okay, yeah. But if you take it off log, it's like, whoa, that's really bad. But also at the same time, those again are the times where it's just like, well, when everybody thinks it's dead, that's when you want to be buying it. When everyone thinks it's dead, when there's only one lunatic talking about it on X and there's only one lunatic doing YouTube videos about it, that's when you want to start buying it. If you still believe it, if you still love it, if you're buying it up here, with all that hype and yeah, the Atropa ecosystem, it's going to be awesome. It's going to be the next revolution in finance. It's this truly decentralized financial system. And now just because we've had this dump that you're like, I don't believe anymore, then really have to look at why was my mind thinking that up here, but now it's thinking completely different here? Why? What is it about it? What is it about this situation that's making me think differently? There's a bias towards the direction of the chart. The direction of the chart emboldens me. It gives me belief. Somebody talks about this all the time. We buy green candles. When everything's green, everybody's happy. Everybody's loving each other. When everything's red, everybody's hating each other, murdering each other. The emotions, man. Really think about that. Really separate yourself from the emotion, Stephen. Really separate yourself from the emotion. And I'm not elite, but I'm definitely a lot better than I used to be. A lot better, despite not taking anywhere near enough profit. So, yo, mummy, is dude gonna fix teddy bear? So, Hamad, I mean, Hamad again in the streams. So when he was Maria, spoke about wanting to, no matter what, protect teddy bear. So, of all the tokens in the Atropa ecosystem, teddy bear is still my favorite. It's the one that backs the Treasury, and it's the one that Maria, like, if he pumped the shit out of it with Treasury while the system was collapsing, then he still has hundreds of billions of Treasury. Just consider that. So yeah, exactly, T-Bear. There's nothing to fix. So there's nothing wrong with it besides the fact that it's down a lot. But Maria often, but he might come and buy the shit out of this and become like a top 5. He might become a 5% holder. He's continuously monitoring positions within the Atropa ecosystem. He's continuously monitoring, okay, what are the holders doing? How many holders? What's the percentages here? Do I want to be a top holder of this? What are the top holders of that token? Are they acting in good faith? Are they acting in benevolence to the system, or are they ruining it? Do I want to own that? Like he was talking about I can't remember which token it was, like Raja or one of those one of the many random tokens. I think it was a Thai token, perhaps Raja. And he said he's bought in and out like 3 times. That was in Zurich. Zurich was now almost a year ago. So, or perhaps even a year ago. So that was in Zurich that he did that. So yeah, just bear that in mind. So he might not own much teddy bear now, but it doesn't mean that he's not going to come and buy the crap out of it. So yeah, nothing to fix in my opinion. So unfortunately, this is what we all do. We buy tops and sell bottoms. So, all right. So definitely don't forget to hit the like button. Thank you very much for that, Arte. I had a dream last night, crazy dream, but I think PDAI and Teddy Bear are facing FUD and are major cause. Maybe I'm delusional, but if Richard and Maria are truly friends, we don't buy Teddy and... maybe I'm delusional, but if Richard and Maria are truly friends, we don't buy Teddy and Atropa Treasury bill will be the biggest mistake not to hold. So I think you're saying if we don't buy Teddy Bear and Atropa Treasury bill, it will be the biggest mistake not to hold multiple bags of them. I cannot tell anyone to buy or sell. Yeah, look, I mean, I'm in agreement with you there, man. I think those are some pretty solid. I mean, Atropa, Teddy Bear, Treasury bill, there's some pretty solid holdings within the Atropa ecosystem. And if you want to just keep it very basic, don't need to go too far down the web, don't need to try and find anything. You have to remember, this is the thing. So a lot of people will FUD the Atropa ecosystem and say, it's just all this fake liquidity. Yeah, that's exactly what it is. There's shitloads of fake liquidity, but there's a percentage of liquidity that's real and a large percentage that's just fake. And that is, Maria can move things around, adjust things to keep the Atropa ecosystem in the direction that it needs to go. Atropos, fated. It's a fated existence. So when he talks about those targets, you have to take it with a grain of salt, but also I'd like to think that he's definitely going to try and work towards doing that in the way that he's made the ratios. A lot of these tokens are only just created as offsets against other tokens. I showed that when I was doing the Atropa Genesis, particularly with the writing contract, when I was showing the writing contract. So go check out the Atropa Genesis episodes that I did. And the writing contract is one of my favorite tokens now because of that. I don't own any writing contract, but I love it. I did a whole episode on it. I don't even own it. This is what I'm doing because I'm loving the Atropa ecosystem. I saw what he did with writing and I was like, he's created this token now to like basically fix up all the ratios and get everything into like he's writing into the Atropa ecosystem to correct everything. It was so cool to see. It was just, it was amazing. And I could be wrong. That's how I interpreted it. But yeah, I mean, writing contract and yeah, it was a beautiful thing. So bottom of PDAI will be 0.0001. I can't believe we are actually this low with PDAI. Oh boy, what a sad thing. So, if Atropa ecosystem continues to moon, I will feel stupid getting left behind. I'm going to add the bags over time because I don't want to feel like poop for not buying one of the biggest meme coins. I know the community is strong and that gives it a great future. Yeah, the community is very strong for Teddy Bear. We have lost the biggest trumpets, obviously the crypto kings. But yeah, I mean that's a huge loss. That's actually a massive loss. We have to be honest. That is a massive loss. Like Moon King went on to Ran Nuna and onboarded like tons of people into Teddy Bear through Ran Nuna, who has 1 million subscribers. So it's a big loss. It's a big loss. There's no two ways about it. But this still has a lot of things that no other meme coin has. Even if they want to try and emulate a liquidity web, or even if, look, this is more than just a liquidity web. People think if I just bond 5 or 6 tokens together, I've got a liquidity web. And that's true, you have a liquidity web, but this is more than just bonding a bunch of tokens together so they move up together and move down together. The ratios, the mathematics that goes behind, the proportions that goes behind those different different bondings is very integral to the system. It's very, very important the way that Maria does that. And it also really is probably why he can manipulate things in such a way, pull levers here, do this here, buy this there, and it's going to create this reaction here. So yeah, there's so much more to this than what people proclaim to be Atropa-esque liquidity webs. Just bonding tokens together is not what I would consider to be an Atropa liquidity web. I would just call it liquidity bonded tokens. Big OG Bear, shout out to you, brother. The believers. We are the believers, the true believers, the cult within the cult, unbreakable convictions. That's it, man. If it bottoms harder, I'll have 1 trillion teddy bear. Nice, man. Yeah, 1 trillion teddy bear. And hey, like, you got to take these things into account. A lot of teddy bear supply also got burnt. So some teddy bear supply got burnt. 50% of the Atropa supply got burnt. So are people considering those things? Are people considering that these tokens are down 90% and 50% of their supply got burnt? And we still hopefully have the rest of the bull market to go. So you really have to take those things into account. If Pulse dips even more, well, that'll tank teddy bear. Yeah, probably. I have to do an episode of my learnings on bondings. I was like, it was something that I kept talking about so long, and then I just started asking AI. I was like, why the hell didn't I do this such a long time ago? And why didn't I learn about this? You know, when you have these tasks where you just keep putting it to the next day, to the next day, to the next day, to the next day, and other things just take front center of your daily task list. And that was one of those things that I'm like, oh man, I really should have learned this thing like at least 2 years ago, but here we are. Maybe not 2 years ago, but at least a year ago. So okay, so HotX had great tokenomics, but oh well, it is what it is. All we can do is move on and find another good one. And I still believe in HotX. So yeah, what I was talking about before, my boy Sleepy J, so he's got a HotX tax token. So the tax tokens, when you create a web, liquidity bonded web behind it, the fluctuations in the movements create buyer pressure for HotX. So if he then creates that tax token, which is bonded with all these other tax tokens, and he's got like, man, my chats with Sleepy J are just he overwhelms me with how much he talks. I'm like, chill, papito, chill. There's so many words that I have to read when he types. I'm like, bro, just chill. He's got like a really high energy. But he's got like almost his tax tokens are across the whole bloody PulseChain. And so when the whole PulseChain is moving, then that's going to send ripples through all of his tax tokens. So again, like these are some prime times to be doing that. So A1A is goated. Pulse Pup is goated. You're never going to outpace them now. You'll never will. But now is a time to be building those things. If you love tax tokens, don't be creating all these tax tokens up here when everything's mooning. Create them now. Do it now. Now's the time. But also, like, maybe it's not always just about creating endless tax tokens and, follow people that know what they're doing and just buy some of theirs and just become big holders in theirs. That's also another good idea, because there's a whole, with the Treasury, there's a tax token for each one of those, which I found interesting, very, very interesting. Actually, now while we're on the topic of, actually, I'm not gonna talk about that. Actually, you know what? Yeah, because I got questioned on this a lot by Hawkeye today. So not this one. If there is, so we'll go back to the Treasury for a moment. If there is, so if this, whatever this system is, so far, all that I know about this system is it's burning and minting, and then it can loop back. It loops back. So you basically have You have Treasury, Fed. It goes down the line. It can only be burned and minted down the line. But then up the line, it can be claimed. So these tokens down here can be claimed up the line. So then it loops the liquidity back up to the top of the chain. So it creates a loop. But then you have a tax token for each one of these tokens. So then those tax tokens, if they're heaviest bonding, which I'm assuming Stu would do because Stu really understands the logic of tax tokens. If those tax tokens are heavily bonded, so if he's got a tax token for SSA, then the biggest bonding should be with SSA. His tax token for job, the biggest bonding should be with job. So then when there is price movements here due to arbitrage, somebody mints, somebody sells, somebody burns and mints and sells and buys, that's creating fluctuations within that tax token, which is further creating fluctuations within this because it's most heavily bonded with that. And if that pool continues to grow, then the fluctuations of the SSA tax token with the SSA, the movements within that are going to then eventually start impacting this, which will create movements within the chart, which will then create an arbitrage opportunity, which will create minting, burning, then minting, then selling, which will then go back into the tax token. Sorry, Mozzie. Which will then go back into the tax token, which is arbitraging, which is creating more movements. So it's just creating this little system of perpetual motion. So the tax tokens, the burning, the minting, there's just always going to be this vibration along here. Look at this. There's always just this vibration along here. This chart here has been mintable since the beginning, and now you've got these tax tokens as well. It's fascinating to see how all these different parts are coming together, and I don't quite know how it's going to be in the end, but I do believe that, just as Hamad said, our Fed is better than their Fed. Our Fed is better than their Fed. So yeah, I just thought that this was a super cool. Yeah, just seeing how all these different pieces of the puzzle are coming together. So, all right. So the new teddy bear is cool, but I don't see a strong community of believers. It's force-fed and has no heart. AOKG, I like that. It doesn't have any heart. So they're trying to push it as like, hey, it's got a lot of liquidity. It's got a lot of liquidity from big players within PulseChain. It's backed by gold. Yeah, you can probably make some gains there. Why not? Go do it. Nothing against it. Go make the gains. But don't say that it's a community takeover, and don't say that it's Atropa-esque. And it's usually it's those kinds of big players, usually, who work together to kind of dump on the rest of us. That's kind of how it works. So yeah. Just take that as you will. So is Treasury bill so Treasury bill is no longer mintable. So the contract has been renounced. I have heard whispers that there's functions within Treasury bill where Hamad can like allocate people to be able to mint it. That's what I've heard. I can't confirm that. I need to get to the point of being able to read the contracts. I'm working up towards that. It's taken me a long time, but I'm working up towards that. There's just so many things to do in the day, and my actual business where I live is heavily suffering because of all these things. So I'm betraying the truth, but I also feel like I'm doing work of truth. So it's okay, but it's a constant tension in my mind, actually. So Treasury no longer mintable to the best of my knowledge. Certainly not from Maria. Certainly not from the perspective of what it was mintable before. But Fed can be minted still, and I don't think Fed will ever be in a way that it can never be minted. I think that's always going to stay because it's been launched from a contract launcher. So now that contract is there, nobody owns it because it's been launched from that contract. So it will just stay as it is. But it's only ever going to be minted when the ratio is above. So eventually I would expect, in the same way that we just saw SSA with job, I would expect Treasury Fed Treasury ratio to be doing something. It'll be like this, like it was at the start. It'll just kind of hover around the 1-to-1 ratio. So I would expect that that's what it's going to do. So then whenever it peaks above, you'll get some minting. Whenever it goes below, you'll get some swapping. So they brag about taking profits out of the Atropa ecosystem every time it does a major pump, and then they brag in the spaces about dumping, then pointing fingers at Maria. Yeah, AOKG, this was yes, exactly. That was definitely something that I had noticed, and I disliked it a lot, actually. I really did dislike it. You know, you can't be selling on top of everybody's head and then cry when the dev is also selling, but the circumstances under which the dev is selling is completely different. It's completely different. The dev didn't sell a top so he could go buy a Lambo and a mansion. The dev protected his ecosystem. It's a completely different situation. It's a completely different scenario. So yeah, I haven't liked any of the criticism. So I really hope people can continue to put their voice of support behind Hamad and the Atropa ecosystem, because for me, this is still one of the most beautiful ecosystems, and it's still one of the most radically misunderstood ecosystems on PulseChain. I hear all the time, the Atropa ecosystem is just a liquidity web. I'm just like, okay, thanks for basically telling me that you don't know anything about it. You just revealed everything that you know about it. Oh, it's not a revolution. It's just a bunch of tokens, 100 tokens that are bonded together. Okay, thank you for sharing with me that you know nothing about it. If that's what you think it is, then you don't know anything about it. It's really like it's like looking at a human being and like looking at the hand and going, oh, well, the human is the hand. It's just a hand. Well, no, it's not. There's a consciousness, there's a body, there's a mouth, there's eyes, there's ears, there's all these moving parts in it. It's not just this thing. That's what people say all the time. They think they've got it worked out, and they always say it with so much hubris. They always say it with so much arrogance. It's always the same tonality, always the same. Why is that? Why is that, I wonder? It's quite fascinating. Yet the humble-minded ones are the ones who learn the most about this, or at least try to, or at least speak positively about it. I was going to oink my way to billionaire status, but not sure about that one. Pigs can't fly. Hey, yeah, don't worry about billionaire status. We don't need billionaire status. We just need to make the world a better place. Treasury bill is no longer mintable. Fed is only mintable, swappable if it's more exactly. Salty dog, good stuff. Stevo, isn't the Fed FDIC ratio similar to the T-bill Fed ratio a few weeks ago? It's easy to analyze the past. In a few months, we can scratch our heads once Fed FDIC ratio drops. Live, laugh, love. Exactly. And again, this is where people are speaking from what the chart is doing and what's happening to their tokens. And actually, where is it? Where's my Fed FDIC? Where's my Fed FDIC? What? Where did it go? All right, give me a second. What happened to my Fed FDIC? This is... maybe I accidentally closed it. Well, that's very disappointing. All right, give me a second to reopen that, because I think that's a really important point to illustrate. Because also against FDIC, so there's other branches to the Treasury. That's the thing. So against FDIC and SOD, standard, and one of the contracts. I know one of the contracts definitely is the FDIC is the parent to not just DFM, but it's also the parent to another token which branches out into another. So I've been analyzing all the different branches, and I still need to make some visuals for that. But yeah, that could be a way that the supply gets reduced and burnt down. I don't know. The boys will be cooking. The Treasury secretaries, they'll be cooking. They'll be doing stuff. Let me just bring up my FDIC. This one. And then also, I want to bring up that because I want to again illustrate this point. Well, I mean, it's kind of self-evident because you're happening with FDIC. But if you went and just bought FDIC with PulseChain or USD or whatever, you will be getting wrecked by the minting. But you only have to blame for not knowing that it was mintable against the Fed. And just saying that it's one-to-one in logic, in contract logic, doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be priced as that. This happens all the time when my computer starts going slow. I lose all of my bloody... Yeah, I end up losing all my chart data. Now I have to redo all this again. But exactly, so now if we bring this up. So yeah, just several weeks ago, well, it's never really been... Let me go logarithmic on this to make it a little bit more... Where's one-to-one? So it's always been quite a ways off. It's always been quite a ways off. And now it's like dramatically a ways off. But, you know, there was a time where it was close for a very short period of time. This is not to say that it can't get there again. It's really not to say, because the guys who own massive amounts of these suppliers, they're going to also want to see the ratios. Then they're not like, it's in their benefit for the ratios to be equalized as well, or at least more equalized. They don't want to be sitting with hundreds of billions of these tokens, which are just valueless and worthless. It's not in their benefit. They might create something that burns the crap out of them. And when they burn the crap out of them, it brings the ratio down. You just don't know what's going to happen. So yeah, it's best to just learn it. Don't overbuy, don't over leverage. Just go in carefully and calmly and learn about what you're getting into. FDIC is mintable and should be... They're all mintable, salty dogs. So this whole Treasury spine is mintable. So what's going on, Zach? My boy Zach, you must be just getting home from work. My boy Zach working hard. Definitely T-Bear. Thank you so much. Press that like button. Stephen, you've never told anyone to buy, and you've demonstrated the minting possibilities. Only a dummy would jump into dysnomia and buy it, not knowing the totality of dysnomia. Yeah, so this, I don't know if I wouldn't call this dysnomia, but I appreciate that comment, AOKG. So this is, I just call this the Treasury. Dysnomia is like the Lao tokens, but then again, yeah, maybe this is part of dysnomia. I mean, dysnomia is like layer 2, and there was the chat log, and dysnomia started with mintable tokens. That's what dysnomia was about, the LAU tokens, LAU contracts. Now all of this is built on mintable contracts. So yeah, I appreciate that. You've learned a lot. Then I bought what I liked, Atropa Treasury bills, simple and easy to understand. Nice, man. I appreciate that. Good on you. Well done. I really like your stream, Steve. Some of them, those you aren't muted. Yeah, that one time where I was muted for like so long. Hey, 414 viewers at the minute. Nice, nice. All right, I'm just going to go through these final comments. Yeah, Grandpa Pulse. It is. Tension is how you grow, is what helps you grow. But I'm supposed to be running a business. That's first and foremost. I'm living in a place, a non-profit organization, meditation center, that I should be pouring 100% of my energy into helping it grow. But what I'm doing instead is I'm putting a lot of time into crypto because I believe that this is going to change the world of finance. And in the way of changing the world of finance, will make the world better for everybody in the same way that I'm trying to make the world better through this meditation center. And then also through getting a whole bunch of money, I can put that money into the world and build more meditation centers. And so it's like there's the tension helps you grow. You're dead right, but being able to there's like a thing in the brain. There's actually some sort of chemical that happens. There's some sort of like neurotension where like pivoting from one task to the other is not easy. So if I'm putting all my time into studying this, and then I should be then like pivoting my brain to, okay, now I got to start making content for meditation. It's quite tricky. It's quite tricky. Okay, now I've got to update the website. It's quite tricky. In the end, you just got to do it. You just got to do it. It's really that simple. But yeah, it can be very, very hard. And there's, I'm definitely failing in my role. That's how I feel in some ways. But maybe that's subjective because I also feel so strongly that I'm doing exactly what I need to be doing. So yeah, it's just a massive cognitive dissonance. So I'm in Pulse and PulseX. I've never owned Atropa before, but I'm starting to add now. I don't see malice in Maria. If anything, I'm seeing a bunch of bedwetting wannabe jacks trying to pick on the different kid who doesn't fight back. I'm building a position. Alex new. Nice, man. Well, Alex is new to the Atropa ecosystem. So we welcome you, Alex. Nice one, man. Learn properly and do your best to try and understand what you're doing. And I guess just in the same way that I've been doing for this whole stream, like don't just rush into anything, man. Just really be careful because yeah, there's going to be tokens that are designed not to be bought. They're just designed to be offset as liquidity. But it really seems like that Atropa ecosystem is complete. Hamad's not, or Maria built out the Atropa ecosystem now. Hamad is focusing on, Hamad and Maria is the same. He just changed his name now to Hamad, which is also to me signifies like this new epoch, which is really all about the Treasury and what's going on with the Treasury. So yeah, I think it's really, really, I mean, I just love this. I just love this concept. What is this concept? What does it actually mean? Like in my mind, it's like seeing all these moving parts and I'm just seeing it as like this like just this engine room of this truly decentralized financial system that's always going to stay in perpetual motion, always pushing liquidity and value throughout the whole ecosystem, just continuously just doing what the Federal Reserve is doing. Prints money, injects it into the ecosystem, injects liquidity into the system. And this is what the whole macro economy is now with the whole M2 global liquidity. They print money, it gets injected into the traditional financial system, and then it gets spread out there. But what actually happens is it's usually top down. So it'll go to the banks and then people will like interest rates will go down and then people will borrow. I've got to do an episode on this as well because I learned a lot about even the function of Treasury bill with the Fed. Actually, yeah, maybe that's what I'll do tomorrow because that was a really fun episode to do. That's what I'm going to do tomorrow. Treasury bill and Fed, more on Treasury bill and Fed, how it works in the traditional system, and then trying to understand that in the context of the Atropa ecosystem. Because Maria said our Fed is better than their Fed in one of the streams. So I take that. I take that as meaning something. So I just think if that's the way that it works, where they mint, basically they're minting value and then it's injected into the system, but it's happening over these long cycles. But now if this is happening here at this very short period of, like in this hyper period of time, that's pretty cool. It's really, really cool to see. So 420 at the moment, and Maria's streaming. So it's so late. It's midnight. Maybe it's something that I'll watch tomorrow. Let's see. I'll see what it's about. All right. So Maria seems brilliant to me. Have some faith. Good on you, Alex. It's good stuff, man. Nice mindset. So what's going on? Dgen Taco, Jesu, Shioshu, Maria streaming, Maria live now. I think we might leave it at this then. People can go have a look at whatever Maria's doing. So yeah, hopefully just an update there. But these are some good times. These are some good times as a buyer. So thank you very much, everybody. Enjoy the rest of your day.